Setting healthy boundaries is key to maintaining mutual respect and emotional well-being. So into this video, we're going to look at 5 boundaries that every relationship needs to set. Starting with the very first one, respect for personal space. When I say respect for personal space, I'm not only talking about physical proximity, I'm also talking about time for yourself. So what this boundary essentially means is that you should be able to understand that your partner might need to spend time alone, engage in other activities that does not involve you. For example, if your partner comes back from work, they might need some time to unwind, so let them be. If they would rather read a book, if they would rather just go into a separate room and just be by themselves because they want to think, let them do that. Don't pry. Don't always try to know what is happening, what is going on, especially if they don't want to talk, just let them be. What you are doing by letting them be is showing that you support their independence. And I also advise that you do the same. It is extremely crucial that couples spend time apart. That way you get to discover who you are, you get to enjoy your own company, and then later on you can come together and talk with your partner. So respect for personal space is very much essential for the growth of any relationship. The next boundary that needs to be set is clear communication. You see, guys, having a healthy communication process is very essential to the growth of relationship. It is important that couples feel comfortable in expressing themselves without the fear of judgment or hostility. So for example, you could set rules that say, we are not going to raise our voice, we're not going to use any sort of insult in terms of disagreement or conflict. That is a great rule to set. Another one could be, if you guys are extremely busy, maybe you could have morning check-ins or afternoon check-ins or even late evening check-ins. I think it is better to call your partner on the phone for a minute or two rather than constantly texting them back and forth. Here's the point I want to drive. Sit down with your partner and talk about how you're going to communicate, especially if you two have different jobs and if you two are not at liberty or you two don't have the time to be talking on the phone all the time. So set clear communication goals that will help you in your relationship. Arguably, one of the most important boundaries to set is emotional boundaries. As human beings, we are emotional creatures, and some people have a series of emotions that range from wide to low and in between. So it is important that we set emotional boundaries. Setting emotional boundaries prevent one partner from taking on completely the other person's emotions, or it also prevents a person from crossing the line by throwing around dismissive remarks. So for example, during an argument, instead of saying you are overreacting or you love to overreact, you can try to validate your partner's feeling by saying, I can understand why you feel that way. Now, let me just point this out because I feel like it is extremely important. When you come into a relationship, it is okay. We all have some emotional issues that we have to walk through, but I wouldn't advise you to bring an emotional baggage from a previous relationship or any other relationship and expect your partner to solve it for you every time. Now, just because your partner is supposed to be your system of support, it doesn't mean that you should cast every emotional breakdown, every emotional trauma on your partner. That is why we have therapists. So keep that at the back of your mind. But very importantly is you have to set emotional boundaries, because without it, your relationship will be all over the place. Money often becomes a point of conflict in relationship. So the next boundary that you need to set earlier on, right from the get-go, is financial boundaries. For example, If you are with your partner, you can decide on how you're going to split expenses, who's going to cover what bill, if that is something you're okay with. You can also talk about whether you're going to combine your resources, your finances together, or you're both going to keep your money separately. That is all something you need to talk about. It is very key that your partner is comfortable when it comes to the financial risks that you both are willing to share. Let me also say this. I understand that the earning power might be different. There are some instances where the woman makes more money and other instances where the man earns more money. Now, if you are a higher earner and you think or you want to take care of everything, there's nothing wrong with that. But it is just important that you sit down, you talk about that, and ensure that you're comfortable with it. Also, don't just assume, because in some African settings, women tend to assume, or it is assumed, let me correct myself, it is assumed that men should carry all the financial burden. We're no longer living in the olden days. Times have changed. Women are earning more money. So sit down, talk about this with your partner, and decide what works best for the both of you. And lastly, let's talk about physical boundaries. Physical boundaries include the level of comfortability as it pertains to affection, intimacy, and of course, physical belongings. So for example, some people may feel comfortable hugging in public, kissing, holding hands, while others would prefer not to show affection in front of other people. Now, I know for some people this is weird, this is strange, but this is something that you and your partner need to sit down and talk about. And also, just because you're in a relationship, it does not give you the permission to take your partner's phone or clothes or any other belonging without first seeking their permission. So this is important. Now, let's summarize everything we've talked about. We mentioned 5 essential boundaries that should be set in every relationship, and that includes respect for personal space. We talk about clear and healthy communication. We also talk about emotional boundaries, and we talk about financial, and lastly, we're talking about physical boundaries. It is important that I point out that these boundaries are not set to last forever. As your relationship progresses, as you get more comfortable with each other, you can sit down and reassess your boundaries and then work on the things that are working out and take out those that are not really working out. I'm going to pause here for now, but I would really love to hear your thoughts. I would really love to hear what you think. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section. If you agree with something or you want me to expand on something, also let me know in the comment section. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.